I assume you heard about this was like 2 weeks ago. There was a illegal immigrant here who, due to a clerical error, was deported into a maximum security El Salvadorian prison.
And they want to bring him back? Is this the one you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
So my take on it last week was apparently this morning I heard the Supreme Court said they have to facilitate the president, the Trump administration has to facilitate his return to the United States. When I was going to talk about it last week, that hadn't happened yet. And my point last week was going to be that I'm actually okay with this. Like, it is, like, in a very human sense, it's tragic that a husband was separated from his wife and child. But the thing is there's going to be a certain element of human tragedy to deporting these people. And yeah, I don't think you can't throw them all in an El Salvadorian prison, but basically I think ultimately this was a good thing where
So
we
it made
need
it to the Supreme Court?
What?
It made it to the Supreme Court?
To my knowledge, yes. I believe it was the Supreme Court that said
What was
Trump had to
their
facilitate his
reasoning
return.
for?
I heard it
forcing
in a
it coming
short like news hit. So they didn't
Okay.
articulate the why, but they basically said yes.
All right, so what's your take on it? Go ahead.
So my take was that like obviously, we can't, like, it's not ideal that he was deported to a El Salvadorian prison, but the idea that, like, he has to go through due process. He was a member of MS-13, which is a gang, and now he's married to a U.S. citizen and has a anchor baby here in the United States. But he was deported anyway. Just the harsh fact of reality is, if we want to protect our nation's sovereignty, this is going to happen. Abuelita is going to get deported. Someone who's been here 20 years, who never hurt anybody. That's the thing, is a vast majority of the illegal immigrants here, other than being illegal, do not commit crimes. The problem that they pose on America is not that they're all criminals or rapists or whatever. That's not the problem. There's economic problems and social fabric problems and cultural problems that they bring with them. They bring their culture here, which did not create America. They're basically, like you said, they're not assimilating. They're setting up satellite communities. They're basically setting up, they're annexing parts of our nation. They're coming here and working on farms. And basically the area, they're given like land on the farm to live, and they set up like Mexican places. Oh,
Go ahead. Keep talking.
they're setting up like satellite states, like colonies almost in America, where you don't speak English. It's everything's written in Spanish. There's a road in Charlotte, and this is North Carolina. This is 2 hours from here. There's a street in Charlotte that when I grew up, it was, as American as apple pie. Now all of the stores on it all of their store names are in Spanish. An entire area of town is now just a Spanish-speaking part of town. They're coming here and they're changing the nation. And this matters because their culture, their heritage did not and cannot produce America. The more we lose ourselves to immigration, the more America will just become Mexico.
All right.
Or El Salvador or whatever.
Supreme Court says Trump admin must facilitate release of man wrongly deported to El Salvador prison. This is MSNBC, so it's probably going to be skewed a little bit. Let's see if they give a reason why. Well, you want?
Yeah, let's watch it.
I wonder if this will come through. Error code? I guess not. Okay. Can I make this bigger? No, I can't read
So
that.
facilitate the release of a Maryland man who was wrongfully deported to an El Salvadorian prison. I mean, I understand him being let out of prison in El Salvador, but does it say he must return to the United States? Because that's where I think that's not our problem.
Let's see. Let's keep reading. Court partially granted and partly rejected an emergency request filed by the Justice Department contesting judges over. Well, that's not even American. Beaver Street Yeah. Okay, so he's not American to first start with. From a prison in El Salvador. If he belongs more in El Salvador than he does America, we can start there.
Agreed.
Where he was sent March 15th, along with men alleged to be Venezuelan gang members. Well, does he look like a Venezuelan gang member? That might be something we, if you got a little bit of darker skin and you got a ton of tattoos, I mean, at this point, I'd rather be safe. And the hardship comes with it, like you said, Josh. I mean, you just got to suck it up. But I'd rather my son and wife be safer.
Yeah, and that's the point. Is like this idea that like there's 50 million of them here. There's not 50 million rapists. There's not 50 million murderers. The problems that they bring with them are more than just money. Are more than just crime and whatnot. I think America was built by Americans for Americans, and it should stay that way. I mean, I think for us to be completely invaded by the third world, it's wrong for us to wish to oppose that.
Correct. The decision means the administration does not immediately have to try to return Garcia to the United States because the judge-imposed deadline has already expired, but it should be prepared to share what it can concerning the steps it has taken and the prospect of further steps. The unsigned decision. Why are my eyes watering trying to read this? It's so small. Yeah, so I mean, he don't have to come back, or they don't have to bring him back, rather. But it does, I guess, raise a little bit of a question of how much authority does Trump have if judges can just issue blanket return policies?
This is why you and I propose basically the word dictator is pretty harsh, but more of a monarch, where this checks and balances system seemed like a good idea 250 years ago. But the thing is America, like the people, the nation itself, is not what it used to be. When you have,
that's objectively true.
Yeah, when you have when you basically, America has become a multicultural society, the people come here and they do not assimilate. They do not assimilate. The only level of assimilation you've seen is basically from the Irish and the Italians. And even then, you still see like cultural pride in their stuff.
It took the Italians over 100 years to even try to assimilate.
Exactly. And even still, you go to Brooklyn and they got it's different than like, they're different than Italy Italians. But that's the point, is it like it took 100 years and all that became was there a different kind of American. You know what I mean? They're Italian American.